So, what we are saying here is that as far as your ethics paper preparation is concerned, the first thing you have to do is that take all the previous year's questions, especially section A as well as case studies. Last year also at least 3 case studies were repeated from previous years. So go through all the section A and the ethics case studies as part of your preparation. Try to make sure that they are preparing very structured answers for them, so that when you go to the examination hall, you are not spending time on those questions which you already know. Because in ethics paper, what people feel is that time, scarcity of time, because they don't have that much to complete the question paper. So what you have to do is that take those questions which are you already know, write them very fast, and you can have a little bit of more time for the rest of the questions. For example, take the first question: differentiate between morals and ethics from with a relevant example from Indian society. Still EQ is there? Okay. No, they will come. So let us start with the question: differentiate between morals and ethics with relevant examples from Indian society. What are morals and what are ethics? If we take this as ethics, morals is a part of ethics. That is what we say. Morals is part of ethics. Ethics consists of the rules, regulations, cultures, traditions, laws that govern the functioning of a society. Ethics consists of all those things, right? In these rules, regulations, laws, everything else can be either for good or bad. They can be either for good or bad. You can call them. Not working, I think. Call them. Still it is echoing, no? Yeah, echoing. Sound, I think. Sound. Sound come. So ethics, how is it now? Is it fine? Ethics consists of all the traditions, customs, rules, regulations, cultures which are needed for the survival of societies. They can be either good or bad. Whereas morals are that part of ethics whose objective is to maximize the welfare of people. Morals are that part of ethics to maximize the welfare of people. So let us give examples. What are the examples of morals and what are the examples of ethics? For example, caste system. It is part of ethics. It is part of ethics. But is it good? Obviously not. Similarly, patriarchal societies. It is part of ethics, ethical norms of the society. Male-dominated societies. But are they good? Definitely not. So, this is what we say about ethics. There are traditions and customs which can be either good or bad, but they are needed for the survival of the societies. On the other hand, morals. What are morals? That part of ethics, whose basic objective is to maximize only welfare of people, to talk about the good of the people. So what are the examples of morals from Indian society? What are those examples? Tolerance, respect for diversity, tolerance, respect for diversity, inclusiveness, openness. These are all the traditions and customs which can be called part of the morals of Indian society. These are all the traditions and customs which can be considered part of morals and traditions part of the Indian society, which are part of the morals, which are for the good of the society. Next, analyze how colonial attitudes of our bureaucracy has impacted their performance with relevant examples, and also discuss how they can be transformed. how colonial attitudes of our bureaucracy has impacted their performance. So how it has impacted? What are the colonial attitudes? They consider themselves as the masters and treat people as subjects. They adopt ivory tower approach. They never mingle with the people. They never talk to people, and they never integrate themselves with people. They maintain a completely aloof attitude, and they never recognize and accept the intelligence of the people because of their intellectual arrogance. It also resulted in what we call administrative elitism. Elitist attitude on the part of bureaucracy. Elitist attitude on the part of bureaucracy. Then these colonial attitudes, how it has impacted their performance. Most of the developmental welfare schemes have not resulted in the empowerment of the people. They have not resulted in the empowerment of people because of the colonial attitudes. There is too much of a centralization of power, high levels of secrecy in implementation. Led to massive levels of corruption. It led to massive levels of corruption. And non-involvement of citizens. Involvement of citizens led to mismatch between. It led to mismatch between the needs of the people at the ground level and the policies formulated at the top. Right. Ultimately, it led to failure of public policies. Ultimately, it led to the failure of public policies. Failure of public policies. Right. So, what should be done? Sensitivity training should be given to the people, to the bureaucracy. Sensitivity training should be given to the bureaucracy to change their attitudes. Second, increasing awareness among the people about their citizens. Increasing awareness among the citizens about their rights. And objective performance evaluation of bureaucracy. Objective performance evaluation of bureaucracy in terms of outcomes. Right. Next, the essence of human life is to remain happy forever. That is what the question says. The essence of human life is to remain happy forever. As a future civil servant, explain how you can realize this objective while in service. So, how can you remain happy forever while you are in service? By understanding the true meaning of happiness. By understanding the true meaning of happiness. So, what is the true meaning of happiness that we are talking about? What is the true meaning of happiness? Real happiness lies in making others happy. Real happiness lies in making others happy with our efforts. With our efforts. Without expecting anything in return. Without expecting anything in return. Without expecting anything in return. Selflessness should be the motto of civil servants. Selflessness should be the motto of civil servants. should be the motto of civil servants. They should attach themselves to the work they are performing. They should attach themselves to the work they are performing. They should attach themselves to the work they are performing, not to the outcome. Not to the outcome. They might face challenges. They might face challenges, temptations, problems and hurdles. Problems and hurdles. They should never deviate from the path of righteousness. Righteousness. They should never deviate from the path of righteousness. R-A-G-H-T-E-O-U-S-N-E-S-S. Righteousness. They should derive maximum pleasure. They should derive maximum pleasure in the task they are performing. The task they are performing. They must also realize the fact that true happiness is only internal in nature. True happiness is only internal in nature. Right? That is what the question says. Pardon? Yeah, this is enough. All the points are enough. Because you are writing only 10 marks. Right? Citizen administration can be realized only by implementing governance reform like citizen charters and social audits. But their success depends on behavioral reforms, including emotional intelligence. Discuss. So the question says that citizen charters and social audits, they can be successful only by implementing behavioral reforms in bureaucracy, including emotional intelligence. So what are the behavioral reforms that we are talking about? First and foremost, you talk about social skills. Social skills. Second, you are talking about self-awareness. Third thing, you are talking about empathy. Fourth, you are talking about self-control. And fifth, you are talking about motivation. You have to explain all 5 of them. Civil servants must possess the skills, communication skills. They must possess the necessary communication skills to make stakeholders an integral part of these reforms. An integral part of these reforms. By creating awareness among them. By creating awareness among them. By creating awareness among them. Next, civil servants should also have in-depth knowledge about, they must also have in-depth knowledge about the challenges faced by the people, and also provide the necessary strength to citizens to overcome those challenges. then for all these reforms to be successful, next point, for all these reforms to be successful, for all these reforms to be successful, civil servants must have empathy. It is the taxpayers' money which is being spent by the government. Which is spent by the government. And the taxpayer has every right, to demand accountability. As pointed out by Nolan Committee, Nolan, N-O-L-A-N, Nolan Committee, civil servants must possess these inherent qualities. Like honesty, integrity, selflessness, empathy. Like honesty, integrity, selflessness, and empathy. To make these reforms successful. Right? Their colonial attitudes must be transformed into democratic values. Training should focus on behavioral aspects. So that they consider themselves truly the servants of people. Right? This is what you have to write for this question. There is a lot of difference between what is legal and what is moral. A civil servant must know the difference between the two for him to be successful. Discuss with relevant examples. So what are we saying here? There is a lot of difference between what is moral and what is legal. Right? And we say this is legal. As we study, what is moral need not be legal, and what is legal need not be moral. What is moral need not be legal, and what is legal need not be moral also. Right? Let us give the examples. A civil servant helping a woman, a civil servant helping an old woman, who comes to his house in the middle of the night, without any documents, is moral, but it is illegal. On the other hand, displacing tribals from their areas is legal but can be immoral. Now come to the question here, a civil servant must know the difference between the two for him to be successful. Then come to one of the important philosophers here, according to Thomas Aquinas, 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 according to Thomas Aquinas, if there is conflict between primary and secondary laws of nature, if there is any conflict between primary and secondary laws of nature, importance should always be given to primary laws. Importance should always be given to primary laws of nature. Primary laws of nature. Morals are part of primary laws of nature. Whereas laws, rules and regulations are part of man-made or secondary laws. Civil servants also must realize, that in case of a conflict, they should always give importance to morals. Because outcomes of their actions are more important. Outcomes of their actions are more important than following rules and regulations. Otherwise, it can result in goal displacement. Goal displacement. Right. No, that is what, there are some situations where you have to make a choice. That's what I am saying here. Then you have to, that is what last sentence is, they must have the conviction, edge of conviction. That is what you have to write. As part of conclusion, you say that they must also have the courage of conviction to accept their actions and take full responsibility for them. They must have the courage of conviction to accept their actions and take full responsibility for them. In a win-win situation is not possible always. That is when you have to take. That's what we are saying here. Next. Corruption is the outcome of an immoral and unethical system and not its cause. Analyze. So what do you understand by this statement? It is the outcome of an immoral and unethical system, and it is not the cause of immorality or unethical aspects of the system. Corruption, we are saying, is the cause. Corruption, we are saying, is the outcome of unethical and immoral system. What we are saying is that corruption is not causing denigration of ethics or morals, it is the outcome. Right? What do we mean by that? What do we mean by that? Ultimately, what we are saying is that corruption is because of denigration of societies. Denigration of societies. It is the outcome of a gradual denigration of values in the society. It is the outcome of a gradual denigration of values in the society. That is what the question says. Corruption is the outcome, not the cause. So, how do we support this statement? For example, materialistic societies. In materialistic societies, people find happiness. They find happiness in materialistic comforts. In materialistic comforts. Ends become more important than means. Ends become more important than means. That is what we say. Ends become more important than means. Immoral and unethical ends are justified. Immoral and unethical ends are justified in the name of profit maximization. Are justified in the name of profit maximization. Next, society also values only those who are successful. Also values only those who are successful, irrespective of the means they adopted. Honest and selfless people never get the recognition. Honest and selfless people never get the recognition. Society also develops huge amount of tolerance towards corruption. It also develops huge amount of tolerance towards corruption. Huge amount of tolerance towards corruption. People come to accept corruption as an integral part of their life or a way of life. They come to accept corruption as a way of life. Ultimately, it is a denigration of values over a period of time. Denigration of values over a period of time. That makes corruption a profitable and respectable activity. Profitable and respectable activity. Right. Next, as part of conclusion, you will say that the solution also lies in changing the value system. Solution also lies in changing the value system through positive and negative reinforcers. Positive and negative reinforcers. INFORCERS. Enforcers. Positive enforcers like ethics-based education, value-based education. Value-based education, and negative reinforcers like strict punishment for those who are corrupt. Strict punishment for those who are corrupt. That is what you have to write. Next, yeah. Write what? Not its cause. That's what we have mentioned, all the things here. You know, we have explained why it is the outcome, not the cause. You know, corruption is not the cause of declining moral values. It is the outcome. That is the reason why if you have to fight it, you have to fight the causes rather than saying that corruption is bad. Go back to the root. Why there is so much of corruption? Automatically, corruption can be removed. That's what, you know, with the corruption, there will be more denigration of values. And this more denigration of values will again result in more corruption. Vicious cycle. Yeah? Yeah, exactly, right. Success of governance reforms depends on political commitment. Discuss the importance of political attitudes in this regard. The success of governance reforms depends on political commitment. So, what are these governance? You start by saying that the objective of governance reforms is ultimately to empower citizens in a democracy. Empower citizens in a democracy. Right? That is what you say. So, what are those reforms? You can write all those reforms. You know, 73rd, 74th amendments. 73rd, 74th amendments. E-governance. Citizen charters. Social audits. Right to information. Outcome budgets. Regulatory reforms. These are all governance reforms. And then you know, it depends on changing the political attitudes. That's what the question says. The success of these reforms depends on one, creating awareness among the stakeholders. Second, ensuring a participation of stakeholders. Third, transparency and accountability. Fourth, objective performance evaluation of these reforms. This is possible only when elections are fought on the basis of these reforms. Political attitudes must be dominated by cognitions. They must be dominated by cognitions. Right? And at present, political outcomes are decided only by populistic subsidies. populistic subsidies. Right? So this is what you have to write for this question. On a day when these reforms become part of the issues that determines electoral outcomes, we can say that these reforms will be implemented. At this point of time, it is only emotions and sentiments that dominate the electoral outcomes. Next, widening inequalities can result in not only economic crisis but also social and ethical crisis in our country. Analyze the reasons for the same with ethical perspective. The question is, analyze the reasons for the same with ethical perspective. Why are we witnessing widening inequalities not only in the economic and but also in the social spheres? First, give the examples. Top 92 billionaires in our country earn more than their income is more than income of 55 crore people in the country. 55 crore people in the country. Top 1% of our population. Top 1% of our population has income more than bottom 77%. Has income more than bottom 77%. Then during the corona crisis, top 150 billionaires in our country, earned more than 30 lakh crores. Whereas 85% of people have seen their per capita income going down. They have seen their per capita income going down. So we are giving the examples of widening inequalities, right? Now the question is why these inequalities are widening. Especially you have to answer the question with ethical perspective, right? First and foremost, why? Emergence of materialistic societies. Second, decline of values in the political system. Decline of values in political system. Third, crony capitalism. Crony, C-R-Y-N-Y, crony capitalism. Unholy nexus between politicians, bureaucrats and businessmen. Fourth, consumerist culture. Fifth, what we call it as shamelessly imitating the habits and traditions of Western countries. Also known as a demonstration effect. D-E-M-O-N-S-T-R-A-T-A-Y, demonstration effect. Next, ends becoming more important than means. Next, change in the value system of people. Change in the value system of people, with people strongly believing that real happiness lies only in possession of materialistic wealth. Real happiness lies only in possession of materialistic wealth. Right. So that is what you have to write for this question. They did not ask for any solution, so you don't have to write. Next, what does each of the following quotations mean to you? An ounce of patience is worth than a ton of preaching. What do you mean by that? An ounce of patience is worth more than a ton of preaching. What is the meaning of the statement? Ounce and ton. What does it mean? Yes. Yes. That is what Mahatma Gandhi would also say. Mahatma Gandhi would say that one single action is more powerful than 1,000 words. One single action is more powerful than 1,000 words. Our character is displayed. Our character is displayed not with our speeches, but through our actions. Through our actions. Right? You can give examples. What are the examples that you can give? People preach about respect for women. Preach about respect for women. But in their own household, they are treated as, women are treated as secondary grade citizens. Secondary grade citizens. Dignity of labor. Dignity of labor. Is a slogan that remains only on paper. Is a slogan that remains only on paper, but is never practiced in reality. Next, we speak about the costless societies. We speak about the costless societies, egalitarian, costless societies. But in our day-to-day life, we always discriminate people on the basis of their cost. We talk about self-esteem. We talk about self-esteem. But in practice, it is reserved only for successful individuals. Poor people never command self-esteem. An IAS officer would never stand up when a poor farmer comes to his office, but treats rich industrialist with a lot of respect. Treats rich industrialist with a lot of respect. Right? So you have to write all these things. Next, the greatest glory in living lies in not in ever falling, but in rising every time we fall. The greatest glory in living lies in not ever falling. Not required. How do you know? You know, I gave these thinkers from Socrates and all these people. So, officers. Yeah, that's what I am saying. I took only this from Western thinkers only. So you don't have to mention. Yeah. So that is the reason why don't worry about the names. They have a lot of free time, that's why they come out with such useless statements. PPC has more free time, that's why they give these useless statements. And of course, we have also a lot of free time, that's why you are writing all of them. So all of you are integrated through wastefulness, right? Is utopia, right? So the greatest glory in living lies in not ever falling, but in rising every time when we fall. So what we are saying here is that failure, not experiencing failure is not what we call success. What is real success? Real success is in rising whenever you fail, going up whenever you fall. The greatest success lies in recovering from a failure. Recovering from a failure. But not in not failing at all. Why? Why do we make this statement? Why? Because committing mistakes is human. Committing mistakes is human. And failure is common. Committing mistakes is human and failure is common. Right? Whether in case of individuals or countries. Whether it is in the case of individuals or countries. I'll give the example of Japan. It was completely destroyed during the Second World War. It was completely destroyed during the Second World War. But within a short period of time, it has recovered and had become one of the richest countries in the world. Next, give another example. Whatever may be the reasons, India was ruled by Britishers for more than 200 years. It was ruled by the Britishers for more than 200 years. Nobody expected India to recover. But within 75 years, we can praise ourselves in the 75th year of independence. It has become the 6th largest economy in the world and the 3rd largest in terms of PPP. There are many instances when it has faced severe crisis. In 1960s, 1970s, and in 1990s. Very recently, Corona. But it has recovered. Mahatma Gandhi was a failure as a lawyer. He was failure as a lawyer, but had become highly successful. Become highly successful. You can give as many examples as of people who have failed initially but had become very successful later in the life. Right? That is what you have to write for this question. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. So what is the meaning of this statement? Don't judge each day of your life by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. What do you mean by that? Yes, what it says is that outcomes are not important. Outcomes are not important. Outcomes and long-term consequences are not important. But the changes that we make to ourselves, is important, because right kinds of means automatically can result in desired outcomes. So, how do we say this? We must evaluate ourselves in terms of what we have learned. We must evaluate in terms of what we have learned. What we have learned in a particular day than what we have earned on that particular day. As pointed out by Aristotle, human beings must always seek perfection. Because it only results in complete happiness, absolute happiness. It only results in absolute happiness. It is possible only by inculcating virtues, both intellectual and moral. Inculcating virtues, virtues, both intellectual and moral. Like wisdom, rational thought process, prudence, detachment, and so on. Bhagavad Gita also points out the journey of human being from a normal human being to being human. Being human, H-U-M-A-N-E, right? That is what you have to write for this question. Next, complete and unhindered access to media, especially social media has an adverse impact on children. It has drastically altered the value system in our society. Analyze. So how this media, especially social media, has impacted the value system in our society. Complete and unhindered access to media, especially social media. How it has adversely impacted the value system in our society. So what kind of changes that have taken place with unhindered and complete access to media, especially among children? Yeah, what are the changes that have taken place? Pardon? Value system. First, children started living in isolation. Then virtual reality had become more important than practical realities. Third, human beings are social animals. But the spread of social media has adversely impacted the social life of people, especially children. Has adversely impacted social life of people, especially children. They are finding social relationships. In virtual world. Next, as they have complete access to crime and sex, they have become immune to them in a very young age. Next, it has also impacted their physical health. As outdoor sports had become a thing of the past. Next, it also made them more inward looking and selfish. As they don't have any experience of leading. They don't have any experience of living a community life, leading a community life, right? This is what you say the impact. Next, they are also getting influenced by artificial emotions. Artificial emotions, they regularly watch on dramas and serials. Right. So that is what it is. The question definitely can come. Next. Not required, because you have to analyze the impact. Solution, if you want, you can write in last one line. One line is enough as part of conclusion. But again, the question is that complete and unhindered access, that is what we are saying. Yeah. War always results in unimaginable destruction. Still, countries have not learnt lessons. Analyze. Why do the countries have not learnt any lessons from the destruction caused by the war? Why? What is the reason why the countries have not learnt any lessons? Why? Because countries are always guided by short-term selfish perspective. They are always guided by short-term selfish perspective. Second, aggressive nationalism had become a major factor. For example, Soviet Russia wanted to regain the glory of the past when it dominated the rest of the world. When it dominated the rest of the world. Third, dictatorship in countries. Dictatorship in countries like North Korea or China or Russia have also resulted in more wars. It is difficult for a leader in a democracy to justify war. It is difficult for a leader in a democracy to justify war. To justify war. But a dictator need not justify anything. Pardon? Yeah. That is the reason why even America fought wars, it had to come out. Next, next one is another reason why is the sense of superiority complex. Sense of superiority complex. False sense of pride in their history. And the unipolar world also led countries like America to fight wars. Also resulted in countries like America fighting wars. And finally, economic interests. Economic interests are the central focal point economic interests are the central focal point for countries fighting wars. For example, in Arab wars, it was only about the control of global crude reserves. Arab wars, right? Crude oil reserves. For example, Kuwait. When Iraq occupied Kuwait, because Kuwait has huge amount of deposits of crude oil reserves, and that is the reason why America declared war on Iraq, right? So that is why the wars are fought. We are giving all the reasons, and then if you want, you can give one more reason: religious conflicts. Religious conflicts, like Pakistan, right, fighting war with India. Because Pakistan believes that India is dominated by Hindus, and Hindus are infidels according to Islam. So it is the divine duty of a Muslim to fight war with India. Religious conflict. Right? This is what you have to write for this question. Pardon? Solutions are, you reverse them, you will get all the solutions. Right? Yes. Not required, I think it is not about, still countries have not learnt lessons. Why? We are giving the reasons. That's more than, the question is not about ethical aspects of war. Wars results in unimaginable destruction. Still, countries have not learnt lessons. Why? Why? Because of all these reasons. We are giving the reasons. Otherwise, you can write an essay for this. Definitely the essay will be asked also this year. Let us come to the case studies. You are working as a secretary in the Public Works Department. You heard so much about corruption in the department. Within few months, you also have seen corruption in your own department. Your ministry is also putting a lot of pressure on you to become corrupt. You are discussed with the system and thought of resigning from services. But immediately also realize that it means running away from the problem. Discuss the measures to remove systematic corruption from the system. What should be done? What can be done to remove corruption in the system? If by resigning, will the problem of corruption be solved? Not at all. By resigning, the problem of corruption will not be solved. Right? So, by resigning, can the problem of corruption be solved? Obviously not. So, what is the solution then? What is the solution? You have to find systematic solutions to the problem of corruption. So, what are the solutions? What can be done? So, identify the causes, then automatically, you can always come out with the solutions. What are the causes? As we study why there is so much of corruption, administrative corruption, we say that as we study, corruption is equal to monopoly plus secrecy minus accountability. Monopoly of the state in service delivery mechanisms, in decision making powers. Monopoly. Second, discretion. Huge amount of discretionary powers in the hands of officials. Huge amount of discretionary powers in the hands of officials. High levels of secrecy in the system. High levels of secrecy in the system. And complete absence of accountability mechanism. This is what it is resulting in corruption. So just by resigning from services, if you resign from services, will the problem of corruption be solved? Obviously not. Resigning from services cannot solve the problem of corruption. Then what is the solution? As we say, you must find a systematic solution. Right? What is the solution here? The first solution here is that we must move towards a collegiate form of governance. Collegiate form of governance. COLLEGIATA. Wherein decisions are taken in a collective manner. Decisions are taken in a collective manner. From a monocratic form of governance, you have to move towards collective decision making process. Second, conduct rules and regulations. Conduct rules and regulations. Civil services conduct rules and regulations must clearly define. They must clearly define the powers of. They must clearly define the powers of officials. Similarly, there must be strict enforceable code of conduct. Strict enforceable code of conduct for political executive also, for the ministers also. For the ministers also. Third, there must be complete transparency in governance. There must be complete transparency in governance. Right to information should be implemented both in letter and spirit. Complete transparency in governance. Complete transparency. And finally, there should be accountability mechanisms. There should be accountability mechanisms. There should be accountability mechanisms. And effective grievance redressal mechanisms. Give the example. Give the example. In Bengal, the scam that had taken place in recruitment of teachers. Similarly, the Vyapam scam in Madhya Pradesh, and mining scam in Karnataka. Mining scam in Karnataka. What is common here? Culprits are never punished. Culprits are never punished. Or the fodder scam in Bihar. Fodder scam in Bihar. Culprits are never punished. Any politician who indulges in corruption must be banned from contesting elections for life. Who is convicted? Right? Who is convicted must be. Right. Pardon? Yeah, you can write 2G scam anything. The court has said that court did not say that scam did not take place. Court has said that CBI has failed to provide enough proof. Court never said that. We are not saying that scam did not take place. Our judiciary works only on the basis of proof, on the basis of evidence, not on the basis of justice. Or that's what the High Court has said. It has said that CBI has utterly failed to provide any proof, tangible proof. That is what you have to write. That is the reason you have to prevent these scams rather than taking measures. So this is what you have to write for this question. Next, yeah. Not required because this is a macro case study. So straight away you can come out with the measures. Yeah, because you have to write a lot. So if you start giving introduction, all these things, it will not work. A rural housing scheme is implemented to provide houses to people living below poverty line. You are in charge of the scheme in a particular district. Around 5,000 houses are to be constructed and to be distributed to poor people. There is a lot of political pressure on you to allot the houses to members of a ruling political party. The concerned minister has already threatened you of direct consequences if the houses are not allotted to his party members. Media is also following these developments closely to ensure accountability in the whole process. Discuss the alternatives available to you and suggest solutions. So, here, what is the issue here? The issue here is this distribution of houses to people below poverty line, right? Houses to people living below poverty line. And what is the problem here? Political pressure. Second, here acting as a watchdog. Media acting as a watchdog. Right? So what are the options to you? Two options. Just what are the options available to you? Two options. First, accept the proposal of the minister. Accept the proposal of the minister. What is the merit and what is the demerit? If you accept the proposal of the minister and allot all the houses to ruling political party, the merit is that you might get promotion. And the demerit is your actions are illegal and second one is reject the proposal of the minister. What is the merit? What is the merit? Yeah, your actions are both legal and ethical. And the demerit is you can be suspended or action will be taken against you by the minister. Right? So what will you do under these circumstances? What will you do under these circumstances? So what will you do and why you are doing? First, you will ensure complete transparency in the whole process. Ensure complete transparency in the whole process. Right? Complete transparency. You will use media to communicate with the people directly. The people directly. You will provide all the factual details to media. Factual details to media. regarding the houses that have been constructed. Fourth, in order to avoid corruption, you will make the entire process online. The process of application, entire process of application online. You will ask the civil society organizations and NGOs, to help poor people, to file their applications. Poor people to file their applications. Next, right? And you will communicate to media about what is happening on a regular basis, so that there is no scope for any external intervention. You will communicate to media. Then, through online lottery system, beneficiaries will be selected. Through online lottery system, beneficiaries will be selected in front of media and civil society organizations. Media and civil society organizations. You will also communicate to the minister that you will not follow his orders. You will not follow his orders. And you will ask him to give his orders in writing. You will ask him to give his orders in writing. Next, you are also willing to be suspended or any other penal action taken by the minister. You are willing to take the responsibility or any other penal action taken by the minister. Then why did you take this decision? Why did you take this decision? By taking this decision, you have displayed a very important civil services values. What are the values that you have displayed here? Honesty, integrity, selflessness, courage of conviction. Selflessness and courage of conviction. Right? Honesty, integrity, selflessness and courage of conviction. Then long-term solution. So in order to prevent corruption, what is long-term solution? Good governance using digital governance. Good governance using digital governance. Transparency, accountability and participation. Transparency, accountability and participation. That is what you have to write for this question, right? Because this can happen almost every place. So what should be done? Participation of stakeholders, complete transparency, and total accountability. That is what we say. Pardon? Whatever the structure I give you, simple. Right, straight away come to the issues. Then what are the alternatives available? And what is your decision? Why the decision? And long-term solution. Yeah. That is the structure you have to follow for every case study, which is micro. Macro case study like previous one, directly write the answers. Health is a major issue that ultimately determines the wealth of a nation. Health policies of the government focus more on curative aspects of health than on preventive health care. There are instances wherein patients in government hospital had become victims of rats, and also unfortunate scenes wherein people carrying the dead bodies of their relatives on their shoulders and walking long distance due to absence of ambulances and high levels of corruption in the government hospitals. Here, the Health Secretary in the Government of India, he have been asked by the government to identify the real health problems of people at the ground level. National health policy also promises health for all. Identify major issues in health in India and specific reference to children, women, mental health issues and rural health care, and come out with the solutions. This is again a macro case study. Please remember, I have given all these case studies only based on current events. The previous one also, this happened in some of the states. That's the reason why I gave. And the corruption was also, it was there in almost, we have seen almost on a daily basis. Even 2-3 days back also we have seen people carrying dead bodies on their shoulders because of the lack of ambulances. It was shown on television. In Madhya Pradesh, we have seen patients had become victims of rats. Rats were eating the patients in hospitals. So all these were basically current events only. I had given them. So what kind of you're the health secretary, and the government had asked you to come out with the practical solutions. What should be done? And then most of these health solutions by the government are curative health solutions. That means the government will come into the picture only after the problem occurs. What are the preventive healthcare solutions that you can offer? Health for all. That is what National Health Policy also talks about. So that is what it says. Identify the major issues in health, which refers to children, women, mental health issues, and rural health care. You have to talk about children, women, mental health issues, and rural health care. What are the issues you have to identify? Then you have to come out with the solutions also. So what are the issues? In general, what are the issues in the healthcare? General, what are the major issues in the healthcare? First one is lack of sufficient finances. Lack of sufficient finances. The amount of money spent by the central and state government is less than 1% of the GDP. Ideally, it should be 6% of GDP. Even a country like Sri Lanka spends more than India on health. It is coming down drastically in real terms in recent times. Health expenditure is coming down in real times, especially after the dismantling of Finance Planning Commission. Why? Because now the state governments are opting for more populistic welfare schemes than spending on health. Give you the example. Uttar Pradesh state government, in order to write off the loans of their farmers, has diverted money from health sector. So first one is finances. Second problem is infrastructure. Health infrastructure is completely absent. Health infrastructure is completely absent, especially in rural areas. He gave primary healthcare centers are conspicuous by their absence. PHCs are conspicuous by their absence. Audit was done in Bihar, and 98% of primary healthcare centers are not functioning. 98% of them are not functioning. Next, availability of health personnel, especially doctors. In rural areas, it is a much more serious problem in rural areas. Next, dominance of these quacks, Munna Bhais, in rural areas. Quacks, QUACKS, those who do not have any skills or who do not have any merit in rural areas. Next problem is lack of awareness among the people about health. Next problem is health is not an issue that decides electoral outcomes. That decides electoral outcomes. For example, during the second wave of corona, millions of people died, but it did not impact electoral outcomes of ruling political parties. Right? Then you can identify with specific reference to children what are the basic problems that children face, health problems, malnourishment, stunting, malnourishment, stunting. Then the lack of access to quality food, hygienic food and water. Lack of access to quality food and water. Next, absence of child healthcare centers. Healthcare centers, especially in rural areas. Right? What about women? What are the major problems faced by women? Pardon? Anemia. Second one is early marriages and early pregnancy. Early marriages and early pregnancy that reduces their that has a negative impact on their health. That has a negative impact on their health. Next is patriarchal societies. Patriarchal societies. Wherein women are always considered as children producing machines. Women are always considered as children producing machines. Next, lack of access to quality food within the household. Lack of access to quality food within the household, especially in rural areas. Especially in rural areas. What about mental health issues? Mental health issues. Pardon? Social stigma. What are the mental health issues? One is lack of awareness among the people about mental health problems. Lack of awareness among people about mental health issues, problems. Next, what are the other social stigma attached to mental health problems? social stigma attached to mental health problems. Next, absence of trained personnel, especially in rural areas, to deal with the mental health issues. I think rural healthcare, we already have spoken about it. Rural healthcare problems, we have seen them. Then you have to come out with the solutions. What are the solutions? First one is preventive healthcare. Preventive healthcare measures. What are these preventive healthcare measures? First and foremost, safe drinking water, availability of safe drinking water. Availability of safe drinking water to all villages. 90% of diseases can be cured, especially in rural areas. 90% of diseases can be cured, especially in rural areas, by providing safe drinking water to people. Second, community kitchens. Community kitchens in rural areas. Community kitchens in rural areas to provide 24-hour nutritious food. 24-hour nutritious food to children. Next, strengthening primary healthcare centers. Strengthening primary healthcare centers by or through public-private panchayat partnership. Public-private panchayat partnership. Next, increasing allocation to health sector. Increasing allocation to health sector. Making it mandatory for the central and state governments. Making it mandatory for central and state governments to spend at least 4% of their GDP on health. Next, setting up of more medical institutions, medical educational institutions. More medical educational institutions. And making it mandatory for the doctors. Making it mandatory for the doctors to work in rural areas for some period of time. For some period of time. Right? So this is what you have to write as part of some of the solutions. You can write as many solutions as you want also. Next, atrocities against women are on the rise in spite of the many laws passed by the governments both at the central and state levels. Yeah, the superintendent of a police of a district wherein recently an incident involving a female college student has created a lot of controversy. Again, this has happened. This was a real incident which I have quoted here. It happened. It happened in the state of Telangana. UPSC is only asking real incidents only in your these case studies. She was on her way to college and was attacked by a young man, ultimately leading to her death. She was repeatedly stabbed by the young man who was her neighbor. The only crime she has committed is that she refused to his proposal for love. The young man is a software engineer working in a reputed multinational company. This is also the same thing happened. He was a software engineer working in a reputed multinational company. She was attacked in full public glare. The incident has dented the image of the government. These incidents are taking place with sickening regularity all over the country. We have been asked by the government to identify the causes for the same and come out with innovative solutions. So basically, what is the reason why these kinds of incidents are taking place against a woman, and then what kind of innovative solution that you come out with? That is what the question is about. It is a macro question. What are the reasons of why the crimes are committed against the crimes against women have increased in recent times, in spite of the fact that many laws were passed by the government, and morely importantly, you have to come out with innovative solutions also. So what are the reasons of why the crimes against women are taking place? What are the reasons of why crimes against women are taking place? Why? First and foremost, globalization. It has resulted in consumerist societies. Consumerist societies. Women are treated as an object of pleasure. They are treated as an object of pleasure. Third, it has changed the value system also. How? Success at any cost. Cost is the motto of young people in the country. Success at any cost is the principle followed by young people in the country. So, what is the consequence? When women say no to their proposals, they take it personally. They take it as an affront to their personality. Affront to their personality. Next, spread of social media, especially Facebook, WhatsApp and others. It led to women also becoming part of this social media. Women also becoming part of social media. The spread of social media. Next, it gave more freedom to women also in the society. It gave more freedom to women also. More freedom of choice to women also. More freedom of choice. And then globalization also led to more participation of women at workplace as well as in education. Suddenly women are coming out. They are coming out and they are working and at workplace as well as in education. Next, attitude of police forces. Since the police force is dominated by men, they don't have any empathy for problems of women. They don't have any empathy for problems of women. Next, attitude of governments. What is the attitude of the governments? And political parties? What is the attitude of government and political parties? Whenever these kind of incidents take place, they come out with quick fix solutions like encounters. They come out with quick fix solutions like encounters, fake encounters. Those who are responsible, they will be encountered by police. The governments never really bother to find the root cause of the problem. To find the root cause of the problem. Then you can come out with all the solutions. What are the solutions that we are talking about? Innovative solutions. What are the innovative solutions that we are talking about? Pardon? First and foremost, education system. You start with education system. The education system should focus on imparting right kind of values. Focus on imparting right kind of values like respect for women, their freedom, their liberty, and their self-esteem. Second, focus on changing the attitudes of parents within the household. Focus on changing the attitudes of parents within the household. Third, more women police stations. More women police stations. Fourth, using technology. Using technology like having mobile applications to provide safety and security to women. Then ensuring strict punishment. Ensuring strict punishment for criminals. Strict punishment for criminals. Next, strict punishment for criminals. Next, improving infrastructure like identifying dark places and ensuring better lighting. Next, making self-defense an integral part of academic curriculum, especially for women. An integral part of academic curriculum, especially for women. Right. So this is what you can write. Almost every year you can see one question is always related to women. Ethics case study. So you can expect these things. Every question, that's what, with this you will be writing all the case studies, because I have given all the cases. Even I am looking, what I will have to give for the comprehensive test also. One more test is there, because every time you have to give the same case studies. I will just look at it. Next, you are the head of the district disaster management authority. Your district is known for many disasters like droughts and famines. In recent times, new problems have come up in the form of deforestation and increasing pollution due to industrialization. It is resulting in huge loss of gross output and untold sufferings to poorer sections of society. Most of the people are illiterate and backward, do not have knowledge about the impact of these disasters. They take them as part of their fate and suffer in silence. Discuss the innovative measures that you can take to get rid of the problems faced by the district and achieve objectives of sustainable development. Even last year also the same question was asked. Every year this one question will be always about disaster management in ethics case studies. You know, UPSC has become ridiculous because because what kind of case studies they can give? One question will be on corruption. Your superior has offered bribes. What will you do? One question on women. One question on disaster management. One question will be on these things like yeah, those kind of things. So one or two questions will be macro case studies like disaster management, rural urban migration, like this. So the question says that you are the head of the district disaster management authority. Your district is known for natural disasters like droughts and famines. In recent times, the problems also have come up. So what will you do? Discuss the innovative measures that you can take to get rid of the problems faced by the district and also achieve objectives of sustainable development. It says that most of the people are illiterate and backward and do not have any knowledge to know about the impact of these disasters. They take them as part of their fate and suffer in silence. So what will you do? You start from the bottom and then go to the top. First and foremost, what you will do is creating awareness. Creating awareness among the people about the impact of all these disasters. You start with creating awareness. Because as we say, any reform measure can be successful only when it results in participation of stakeholders. It is not possible for you to do it on your own. That is the reason why you take the help of local media and civil society organizations to create awareness among the people. Local media and civil society organizations. Second, you identify the disasters that take place in the district. Natural and man-made. You identify the disasters that regularly take place in the district. Natural and man-made. Right? Man-made disasters like deforestation, pollution. Right? Deforestation, pollution. Natural disasters like droughts and famines. Right? First identify them. Next, you will also conduct a scientific survey about the availability of resources in the district. Availability of resources. Availability of resources. What are the resources? Natural resources and human resources. Then you will focus on preventive measures. You will focus on preventive measures in terms of man-made disasters, in terms of man-made disasters. What will you do? You will make a social and environmental impact assessment mandatory. Social and environmental impact assessment. Social and environmental impact assessment mandatory for any new industrial or infrastructure project to come up in the district. For any new industrial or infrastructure project to come up in the district. Then you will also implement precariat charters. Precariat charters in the district. In the district. What are these precariat charters? They go beyond citizen charters. These precariat charters are for those people who are displaced by globalization, the forces of globalization. Those who are displaced by the forces of globalization. Precariat charters. P-R-E-A-R-I-A. Right? You will make sure that these industrialists, you will make sure that the industrialists spend on afforestation measures. spend money on afforestation measures, on providing long-term employment to the people, by imparting IMPARTING, by imparting new skills to the people. They also spend money on providing basic amenities to the people in the locality. Through CSR initiatives, corporate social responsibility initiatives. Right? Next, you will encourage dry land agriculture, DRYLAND, dry land agriculture, to overcome the negative impact of droughts and famines. Then you will also focus on alternative sources of employment. To people by providing the new skills to them through Skill India, and also providing easy finances through Startup India. So that they can become entrepreneurs by themselves. Rather than looking for employment. Then he will also encourage women to become part of self-help groups. Right? So these are all the things that you will do. Almost for any question on disaster management, you will be writing the same thing. Next, come to the last question. A non-governmental organization has done a commendable job in a district in spreading awareness among the rural and tribal children regarding education. It led to increase in the literacy levels of the district also, but it has been accused of siphoning of funds by the media. Here, the district development officer in charge of implementing the flagship schemes of the government. Media also has reported extensively the allegations of corruption. There have been demands of taking strict action against the NGO. You know that most of the allegations are baseless, but rule of law must be implemented in both letter and spirit. Discuss the alternatives available to you and suggest the solution. Right? So, what is the problem here? An NGO is working in the district for a long period of time, and it has done a very good job in spreading awareness among the children. It led to increase the literacy levels also, but it has been accused of corruption. But you know that most of these corruption allegations are mostly politically motivated. There is no truth in those allegations. At the same time, media also is reporting the matter extensively. What will you do under those circumstances? What is the issue here? The corruption allegations against NGO. Right? right? Then come to the immediately, what are the alternatives available to you? What are the alternatives available to you? One is take strict action against the NGO, cancel the license. Take strict action against the NGO, cancel the license. What is the merit? What is the merit of this decision? What is the merit of this decision? He will be praised by the people of the district as well as media as a very tough, no-nonsense officer. He will be praised by the media as well as the people as a tough, no-nonsense officer. No-nonsense officer. Tough, no-nonsense officer. What is the demerit? Action might be legal, may not be moral. Because you have the power, you have taken the decision. It might be legal but not moral. Right? Next, second option available to you is ignore the allegations. Ignore the allegations and do not take any decision. Ignore allegations and do not take any decision. Ignore those allegations and do not take any decision. What is the merit here? Since you know that this NGO is honest, you are able to protect the interests of NGO. You are able to ensure that this NGO functions without any problems or hurdles. Right? What is the demerit? Due process of law must be followed. You did not follow the due process of law. You did not follow the due process of law. Right? Your actions might be moral but not legal. Your actions might be moral but not legal. So what will you do? What is your decision? What will you do? First, you will appoint a committee consisting of members from media, from district administration, and other civil society organizations to look into the allegations. Second, you will ask this committee to investigate the matter in a stipulated time period. Investigate the matter in a stipulated time period. In a stipulated time period. Say 3 days or 4 days. Third, you will ask the concerned NGO to stop all its operations during this period. You will ask the concerned NGO to stop all its operations during this period. To stop all those operations during the period. Fourth, investigations will be conducted in open. Investigations will be conducted in open. so that there is no scope for prejudices or biases. There is no scope for prejudices or biases. Then once the investigations are over, based on the findings, action will be taken. Action will be taken. Based on those findings, action will be taken. If it is proved that the NGO is innocent, then you will take action against people who have made allegations, who have made false allegations, for selfish purposes. Then as a long-term solution, you will have a social audit committees in the district. You will have social audit committees in the district to look into the functioning of NGOs and civil society organizations. To look into the functioning of NGOs and civil society organization, right? So that in future these kind of problems will not occur. Right? This is what you will write for this question. Almost for all the these kind of questions, that is what the solution. You will appoint a committee. The committee will be asked to give the report in a stipulated time period. During that period, the accused person will not be asked to continue with his responsibilities. The proceedings of the committee will be held in open transparency, and those who are responsible will be punished. That is what you have to write for these kind of questions, right? So this is what you have to write. Definitely almost all these questions are important from your examination point of view, because most of the questions are current affairs. In the next test we will have more questions like this, right? I think after that we have only comprehensive tests, which are starting from 1st of September. After the test, 1st and 2nd and 3rd, I think we have the tests. 4th onwards we will have discussions. Initially start with I, then write it in the third person perspective. Next step, third step, second step, third step, like that. You know, if you write I almost every sentence, it doesn't look good. You know, you start with I, then after that write all the solutions without mentioning you there. Write solution from system's perspective. Exactly, yes. You know, because if you write I all the time, it looks bad, right?